Time to review step number 36 of the 67 steps. Hope you're getting something out of these. If nothing else, I'm just doing these to drill the ideas into my head. But if you're getting something out of them too, that's pretty cool. But this is step number 36, and it's called the sucker in the room and the Lollapalooza effect. Using cognitive biases, but not having them used against you. And this one focuses primarily on the power of your mind in initiating action and achieving success. You can, we all know that everything starts as a thought, but this is a good reminder of that. And it's important to get the mission control right, otherwise the mission, which is your life, will not go right. We could be more specific in what I mean by right and wrong, because really it's not right or wrong, but it's you living a good, fulfilled life. That can be defined as having your health, being financially independent, and having love in your life, both with all three: friends, family, and romance. But an example of someone with an extremely strong will is Christopher Reeve. He played Superman in the movies, but after his movie career, unfortunately, he was in a horseback riding accident that left him paralyzed from the neck down, a quadriplegic. However, amazingly, triumphantly, he was actually able to move parts of his body towards the end of his life, even just a little bit. So that's despite doctors saying that he'd never be able to do that. So that's an example of kind of, I would say, the intersection of faith and science. But Ty says having strong mental habits is the key to you having a fulfilled life. And we then shift to the competitive nature of life. And every day we're bombarded by thousands of ads, each trying to pickpocket our attention and get us to take a certain action. Ty references his grandmother, who was born in Germany in 1918, who was not bombarded by ads back then, maybe just the newspaper, but you compare that to modern day, Times Square. I don't know if you've ever been there in Manhattan, but it's just ridiculous how many ads are there. Some of that's the appeal. It's exciting to be there, being around a bunch of people, but again, Ty recommends that you take a break from the media for a while so that you cannot have to be around some of these things that are influencing you that aren't in your best interest. But there's a great quote here by Ty that says, if after 30 minutes of playing poker, if you don't know who the sucker is, you're the sucker. And you never want to be the sucker. And remember another quote that is a good add-on to that by Eckhart Tolle: awareness is the greatest agent for change. So just you being aware of these cognitive biases and the influence the media has on your mind gives you at least a foothold so that it can't take advantage of you. But we're reminded of the 25 cognitive biases we've studied before. These are 25 influences in marketing that affect your decision making and lead you to make irrational choices. And you always want to make rational choices. Number 25 of the cognitive bias is the Lollapalooza effect. And it says that when you combine one or more of these cognitive biases together on the consumer's brain, they have an exponential effect that leaves you almost helpless to take the action that they're trying to get you to take. And it's necessary to be aware of these things, because otherwise they'll be used against you, not necessarily in your best interest. And an example of the Lollapalooza effect is when you go to a auction. Warren Buffett says he never goes to an auction because you always lose. And when you go to an auction, there is definitely the Lollapalooza effect going on. Just off the top of my head, I thought of 5 different cognitive biases that are taking place at an auction. Number 1 is the reward and punishment bias. You're seeking out the reward of getting something you want, and you're trying to avoid the punishment of not getting it. Number 14 is the deprival tendency. The auctioneer standing above you saying, going once, going twice, sold. So there's a sense of urgency and a sense of deprival if you don't get what they're auctioning off. There's the social proof. You tend to act the way people around you think and act. And there's stress tendency. There's stress and adrenaline at an auction that causes you to make faster and more extreme reactions. You never want that. And of course, there's authority bias. The auctioneer is literally standing up higher than you, so you trust and follow their orders. And the last part of this lesson was about you shouldn't call things good and evil, but realize that life is just competitive. Every organism has its own best interest at heart. And so you need to be looking out after yourself. Rabbi Hill says, if I don't love me, who will? And the world doesn't care if you succeed. Even your mom, who was breastfeeding you, eventually had to take away your best interest and focus on her best interest, because breastfeeding takes a lot of energy from her, and eventually she had to look after her own well-being, otherwise she can't take care of you. Even when you go onto an airplane, when they're doing that pre-flight emergency procedure demonstration, they explain to you that if the oxygen masks fall from above, you should put your oxygen mask on before you help the person next to you, because if you're dead, you can't help them. And we're reminded too that most wars don't start necessarily because of good and evil, but because countries and leaders are competing for resources. The key thing is awareness. The way that you can use these cognitive biases is you can positively influence other people to take certain actions, and hopefully it's in their best interest. That's called the Pareto efficiency. And I'm trying to make this one brief because it's about to start pouring, but remember, the sucker blames other people and takes the bait of persuasion, and you never ever want to be the sucker. So the questions at the end of this lesson are, what's a time you thought people had your best interest at heart, but you turned out to be the sucker? What's an example of you being persuaded? And how does understanding the world as competitive more than good and evil change your perspective? Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you on lesson number 37. Take care.